Hi guys, it's me Terri of the Yarnjoy podcast. Welcome back to another tutorial. I had a request to demonstrate how to crochet the flower power square, which is this one right here. It makes a 5-inch square, and this pattern is a Yarnspirations pattern. It is the square that is done as part of the project called the Flower Power Beach Bag, and I will insert a picture here of what that bag looks like. Okay, so for this square, you're going to need 3 colors of yarn. And so for my square for today, I picked this bright green for my center. You only need a very small amount for the center of the flower, okay? And then I'm going to be using this purple right here. It is orchid, okay, orchid color for my petals. And then for my background color, I'm going to use this blue. I think it's just called Red Heart Super Saver Blue, I think. It's just some scraps that I have, okay? So for your crochet hook, you need a size H hook, which is a 5mm hook. Okay, that's what it's called for in the pattern. You're going to need a pair of scissors and a yarn needle to weave in your ends. Okay, so for the round one, you're going to take your center color, which is going to be the center of your flower, your first color. Okay, so it says you're going to make a slip knot. Okay, however way you like to do a slip knot. Okay, and then you're going to chain 2. So 1, 2. Okay, now in the second chain from the hook, which is actually the first chain that we made, I'm going to do 6 single crochets. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm halfway. I need to do 3 more, and when I get to this point, I like to take my tail and make sure that when I continue on, I'm going to work over that tail, okay, to do the remaining 3 single crochets. Okay, so here's 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so now I can take that tail and I can pull it to kind of snug up that hole in the center. Okay, and now I'm going to slip stitch into my first single crochet. Now just a little tip, sometimes I have a hard time getting my hook under that first stitch. Okay, so what I can do is I can take it, and if I grab a hold of the front of those 2 strands that made that stitch and kind of pull it up a little bit, it seems to help to pull up that stitch, and then I can get my hook underneath it easier. Okay, and then I'm going to just join with a slip stitch. Okay, see? Okay, next it says to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that chain 3 is going to count as our first double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets into that same stitch where we slip stitched into. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Okay, so now it says to do 3 double crochets in each single crochets around, and since there's 6 stitches, we're going to end up with, counting this chain 3 as our first double crochet, we will end up with 18 double crochet stitches all the way around. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, just like that. 3 in each one. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so continue that until you get to the end, and then we're going to, I'll meet you there and we will slip stitch to join. Okay, so I finished my last stitch, And now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 that was our starting double crochet with slip stitch. Okay, now take a moment and make sure that you have you should have 18 stitches around. Okay, it's very important that you have 18. Okay, that has to do with the placement of the petals. Okay, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, which is the first chain 3. So yes, I do have 18 stitches, so I'm good to go. Okay, so let's see. That is all of that green color that you need, or the center of your flower, whatever color you chose to use. So I'm going to leave myself just a little bit of a tail and snip that off. And then I'm going to chain like I'm making a new chain, but now I'm just going to pull it all the way through to fasten off, okay? Okay, so there is our first part of our flower, which is the middle section. Now we're going to go on to the petals. So we're going to take the yarn that I'm going to be using for the petals. Pull out a little bit to get me started here, okay? Okay, so it says to join color 2 with slip stitch to the front loop of any double crochet. I'm going to go ahead and go back into that same stitch that I did a slip stitch in to join, and I'm going to hook around just the front loop, okay, of that stitch, and I'm going to hook on my new yarn onto my hook, and then I'm going to pull it through, and then I'm going to chain to lock it into place. That's to join it, okay? And then it says to chain 3, and this is also going to be a double crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now it says 1 double crochet into the same space as where you joined. And remember, you're only doing it under the front loop only. So 1 double crochet, there you go. And then it says 1 double crochet in the front loop only of the next double crochet. So front loop only. Okay. And then it says 2 double crochets into the front loop only of the next stitch. 1 and 2. Okay, so that is the beginning of your first petal. Now, remember, you had 18 stitches in this circle from the previous round, and so we're going to make 6 petals, so that means each petal is going to take up only 3 stitches around, okay? Around this base, okay? Okay, so now it says we're going to leave all the rest of these unworked right now because we're just working on the first petal. And so it says to turn, and on second row you're going to chain 3. I always like to chain 3, do the chaining before I turn. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to turn. Okay. Okay. So now I turned. And then it says 1 double crochet into each double crochet of the petal. And remember, this chain 3 counts, see, because we have 5. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay, of this. Well, this chain 3 that we did before we turned, that is takes the place, or is on top of this last double crochet that we did. So when we're going to do our first double crochet, or our next one for that petal, we're not going to go into that first one because the chain 3 is already there. We're going to go into the next stitch. And you do not do front loop only, you go into the whole entire stitch, okay? So it says 1 double crochet in each one across, each double crochet across, so you should have 5. So there's 1, counting our chain 3 space, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 will be the top of the chain 3 from the previous row. Okay, so you still have 5 stitches across, okay? Okay, so on to the next row, which is row 3 of the petals. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to turn, okay? And then we're going to do a double crochet 3 together in the next 3 stitches, which is the middle 3 of the 5 that we have across, okay? And the way you do that is you yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through 2 loops only and leave those 2 on your hook. And then do that again for the next 2 stitches, same. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, and under 2. Okay, and then one more time, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, and then go under 2. And now you have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, and then go through all 4 of those together. Okay, so you're working on a kind of a point or a tapered edge of your petal. So now it says to double crochet into the last stitch. So now what you did is you reduced your stitches from 5 stitches to 3, okay? And that's the end of your petal, okay? So then you're going to, now you want to leave a tail before you cut your hook, before you cut your tail and fasten off, make sure you leave a long tail that is long enough to go around your petal, because you're going to be needing that later. Okay, so I like to draw my yarn down to the base and then back up to itself again, so then I know that length should give me, and then give me a little bit extra. And that should get me all the way around my petal, okay? So now I'm going to cut that off. Okay, so you will need these long tails at the end of our square, okay? So now we're going to just chain up 1 and then pull all the way through to secure it. So there is our first petal, okay? Now we're going to repeat that process 5 more times. 5 more times, because we'll have 6 petals all the way around. Okay, so take our yarn and get it ready. We go into the very next stitch that was unworked from our base piece of our flower, and we go under the front loop only. Okay, we hook on our yarn and pull it through, and then chain to secure it down as a slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then remember, we're going to do the next petal into 3 stitches on our base, because each petal takes up 3 stitches. Okay, so we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to do a double crochet into that same stitch that we joined, okay? And then we're going to double crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next one. And remember, we're doing front loops only. 1 and 2. Okay? Okay, now we're going to go to the next row. So chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3. Turn our work over, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch across. And remember, we had 5, so we should have 5. We had 5 on the previous row, so we're going to have 5 here. So this chain 3 will be our first one. So stitch number 2 would go into the top of the double crochet number 2 from below, okay? And then stitch number 3, another double crochet, and then 4 double crochet right there. And then number 5 double crochet into the top of the chain 3 from the previous row, okay? So there's our second row. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then for our last row, we're going to turn. And now we're going to do that 3 double crochet stitch together, okay, to unite those 3 middle double crochets together into 1 stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into the first stitch that we're going to unite together, yarn over and go under 2, yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, go under 2, yarn over, go into the third stitch, yarn over, go under 2, and then now yarn over and go under all 4 loops, okay? And then remember, you need 1 more double crochet in our last stitch to finish it off, okay? So there is our next petal. So now, like I said, we're going to leave ourselves a good sized tail, enough for it to pretty much go around the whole entire petal, okay? And we're going to cut that off and then fasten off like we're going to do a chain, but then we just pull it all the way through and that fastens it off. Okay, so now we have two petals. Okay, so now we're going to keep doing that. We're going to do the third petal into the next three front loops only of the, the next 3 stitches, and then we'll do those 3 rows to create our petal. And if you need to reverse the video so then you can watch those 3 rows again, feel free to do that. And I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to get my other 4 petals on here. And remember, it's very important that you're only going into the front loop only, because then the back loops is where we're going to attach our main color to finish off our square. Okay, so I'm going to do the next 4 petals, and then I will meet you up at the end of my 4th petal. So then we can go on to the next part of the square. Okay, so I just finished my 6th petal, and I also weaved in my extra tails and things on the back, just so then it would be a little bit cleaner and easier to see what I'm doing. Okay, so picking my 3rd color, which is going to be the color I'm going to use for the square part. Okay, I'm going to fold my petals forward. And remember, this base had 18 stitches in it, and we want to make sure that we go into the back loops only now of those remaining, of those same stitches that we attached the petals to. And since there was 18 stitches around, we should have 18 back loops that we're going to be working into. Okay, so we're going to insert our hook into any of the stitches around back loop only, which is the remaining loop that was unworked. Okay, so if I pull my petal forward, remember each petal took up 3 stitches, and so I'm going to go under the first stitch, which is the back loop of that stitch, and I'm going to draw up my loop with my new color, and then I'm going to slip stitch to join it. Okay, and then it says to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then double crochet back into that same loop that we joined into. See that? So now we're going to do 2 double crochets into each of the remaining loops around, which are the back loops from that round 2, was it? Yes, round 2. And so at the end of this round, we should have 36 double crochets, counting this first chain up 3 as our first double crochet. And I'm going to work over my tail, my joining tail, to reduce the amount of weaving and I will have to do. So going into the next stitch, I'm going to do 2 double crochets into that back loop only from that stitch that we worked the petals into. Okay, so 2 double crochets, see that? Okay, that gives me 4. Then I'm going to do 2 double crochets into the next one, into that unworked loop. Okay, and now I'm ready to go on around, and since we're doing 2 into each of those loops, it's an equivalent of having 6 double crochets behind each petal. Okay, and so keep working around and putting 2 double crochets into each loop, and I will meet you when I get around to the end and get ready to join. Okay, so I just did my 36th double crochet. Okay, doing 2 double crochets into each of the remaining loops behind the petals. Okay, and now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 where I started. Okay, and now I'm ready to go on to round number 4 from our pattern. Okay, so it says to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then it says to double crochet into that same stitch where we joined. Okay, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet into the next double crochet. And then we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next one, 1 and 2. And then we're going to repeat that, doing 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochets, then 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochets, all the way until we have 5 stitches remaining. Okay, so I will continue doing this. So the second one, the one we just finished had 2 double crochets, so this one's going to have 1. The next one's going to have 2, 1 and 2. I'm going to repeat that sequence until I have 5 stitches remaining, okay? I'll meet you there. Okay, so now I have 5 stitches remaining on this round, and the last one I did, the last double crochet I worked into, I did 2 double crochets, okay? So I have 5 remaining, and in the instructions it says in the last 5 to do the following. Okay, so we're going to do 2 double crochets in each of the next 4 double crochets. So 2 double crochets into each stitch for the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, there's the first one, 1, 2, second one, 1, 2, third one, 1, 2, fourth one, and then 1 double crochet into the very last stitch. Okay, so that will give us now a total of 56 stitches around, counting the first chain 3 as a double crochet as well. Okay, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3, and that will end that round. Okay, going on to round number 5, it says to chain 1 and then single crochet into that same stitch. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch, okay? Okay, so 1 single crochet into that first stitch, the same stitch that we slip stitched into. And now we're going to do 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? And then it says 1/2 double crochet in each of next 2 stitches. So 1/2 double crochet. So yarn over and then go in, pull up a loop, yarn over and go through all 3 loops. Okay, so 1 and 2. Okay, and then it says 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So 1 double crochet right there, and then another double crochet into the next one. Okay, and then it says 5 triple crochets into the next double crochet, and that's going to make our corner. So a triple crochet is yarn over twice and then insert our hook, yarn over and go under 2 loops, yarn over under 2 more loops, and yarn over under the last 2 loops. Okay, so that's a triple. Now we're going to do 5 of them in that same double crochet stitch. We've already done 1, so we need to do 4 more. So there's 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's 4 of them. Remember, we need to do 5 of them in that stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 more. Okay, so that is our corner. Okay, and now we're going to work down the next side, and we're going to do the opposite of what we just did. 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. And then we're going to do 1/2 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. And now we're going to do single crochets into the next 5 stitches. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we're ready to start climbing to make our next corner. So 1/2 double crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. And now we're ready to do our corner, which is 5 triple crochets into the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now we're heading back down. We're going to do the opposite to go down across the side. So we're going to do 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches, 1/2 double crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then a single crochet into the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so now we're going to repeat that for 2 more corners. Okay, so now what we're doing is increasing our stitch height up to get to the next corner, which is a half double crochet in the next 2 stitches, a double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then 5 triples in the next stitch. Okay, so complete that sequence for this corner and then across to the 4th corner. Okay, and I will meet you when we get into that 4th corner where we're doing the 5 triples over here. Okay. Okay, so I'm about to do my last corner, which is the 5 triples into the stitch. 1, oops, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Okay, so I've got the 5 triples, and now I'm going to finish off this round by doing a double crochet into the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and then a half double crochet into the next 2 stitches. Okay, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the very first single crochet, and that will complete that round. Okay, so now we only have 1 more round to go. When you flatten out, you can see we're getting our square shape there. Okay. Okay, so let's go on to our final round, and it is a very simple round. All we're going to do is chain 1, single crochet back into that same stitch that we joined, and now we're going to single crochet all the way around, and then I'll show you what we do when we get over here to the corner. So single crochet into each stitch till you get to the corner, which was those 5 triples, 5 triple crochets. Okay. Okay, so now we have the 5 triple crochets there that were in that 1 stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so the very middle of those 5 triple crochets will be the 3rd one. And that is our very absolute corner space, which is right there. Okay, so in that corner space, we're going to do, instead of just doing 1 single crochet, we're going to do 3 single crochets into that corner stitch, which is the 3rd of the 5 triple crochets. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, all in the same stitch. Okay, so that's all we're going to do that's different. So we're going to go across to the next corner, and we're just going to do a single crochet into each stitch across till we get to that grouping of 5 triples, and in the 3rd triple crochet we're going to do 3 single crochets into that stitch. Okay, so keep doing that all the way around with the 3 single crochets in the corner stitches of those triples, and I will meet you at the end of this round. Okay, so now we're finished with the crocheting part of our Flower Power Square. I went ahead and fastened off and weaved in my tail from the last round. Okay, so now we are done with our crochet hook. We're going to take our yarn needle and we're going to start fastening or securing down these petals, and that's what the long tails left over from the ends of our petals are for. So we go ahead and yarn our needle and then we spread out our square and decide where we want our petals to lie. Okay, now you can get some pins if you want, and you can go ahead and pin the petals into place where you want them to be, or you can just hold them down as you go while you're stitching your petals down. Either way that you feel more comfortable doing it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from where I fastened off, and I'm going to start tacking down or securing down my petals. Okay, so take my yarn to the back of my petal, and now when you secure down your petal onto your square piece, that you only go under a few of the strands of your stitches below, so that way those stitches won't show on the back side. Okay, and then so you just keep doing that, and you go around your petal, kind of shaping it as you go. And like I said, just go ahead and just pick up a few, just a strand or two, if you know, just a little bit of your stitch below, but don't go through it so much where you can see the stitch from the back side. See, you can keep looking ever so often. Look at the back side of your square, make sure that you can't see the stitches. Okay, now what I like to do is when I get down to the base of my petal, okay, then I will go ahead and go over and start stitching down my second petal with this same yarn, and it kind of brings my petals together. See how I stitch them together like that right at the base. Okay, and then I go down and I start attaching it back to my back onto my square again. Okay, and I do that until I get all the way to the top where I have my next piece of yarn, or the next tail, and then I can secure off this one I'm working on, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay, looked at the back. You can't see any of the stitches in the back. Okay, that's good. And then what I like to do is, now I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and secure this yarn, and then I will yarn my needle with this end, and then I will go down this side, across, and up to the side to where this tail is. And so what I do with this yarn is I go ahead and go into the petal part, and I just hide my tail in, you know, weaving it in just like however you normally like to weave in tails, just into that petal, since it's the same color thread or yarn. Like that. Okay, and then I cut off my tail. Okay, so see, I have this side attached down, and then I went across, and then I went up this side with that same tail and attached it to my square. And so now I move on to the next yarn end, and I thread my needle with that, and then I repeat doing the same thing. I just start tacking it down, just picking up a few strands of the yarn of the background color, and then back up through the petal again. Okay, so I keep doing that, and like I said, you can periodically check the back to make sure none of your stitches are showing through. And then you just repeat the process to get down to the base of that petal, and then go across, and then go up that side right there, okay, until you get to this yarn end, and then weave in your end just like I did in the previous yarn tail, like that. See, and then I go across to this petal to kind of pull them together. okay? And then I'm going to go up that side, see? And that's all I do. And then I weave in my tails, and then that will be the end of our square. So I will continue weaving in these tails, and then I will show you when I get finished, when I get finished with the finished product. I'll be right back. Okay, so I finished securing my petals down with the tails that I had left on my petals, and as you can see on the back, you can't see any of the stitches where I secured the petals down, so I'm very happy with that. Okay, so that is my Flower Power square. Thank you for Yarnspirations for the pattern. Like I said, you can use these squares and stitch them together to make a blanket, or you can actually go forward with using the squares and finish off and make the bag. I have made the bag myself several years ago. I think I've showed it in some of my videos that I use it for a project bag. But with what I did with mine is I did line it, but before I lined it, I stiffened the sides with some plastic canvas sheets that I put in between my liner pieces and my bag, the yarn part of the bag. But you don't have to do that. I mean, if you're going to use it as a beach bag, it would be very it would make a very nice bag just doing it that way. So anyway, here is the Flower Power square, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.